audience of your resume. This is true, but the need to understand your audience for your resume is present when you're writing any other document as well. So thinking about audience is something you need to get used to doing. It's essential. You cannot really write to stimulate a response from another person unless you understand what their keys are. So let's talk about the person who's going to read resumes. Now, I understand you can't know every individual person, but there are some commonalities across all the people who read resumes. So let's look at that. Imagine that you are a manager. You're a very busy person. You have fires to put out. You are busy, but you're even more busy today because you need to hire somebody, because you are down a person. You are missing some production ability. So that's putting burden on you. It's building pressure for you. It's making your life busy. And now you have to look at resumes. And you don't have time. That's not your normal part of your job. You're supervising. You're dealing with clients. You are planning. These are things you have to do. You're watching the budget. You have to do these things. But now you have to look at resumes. So when are you going to look at resumes? You're going to look at resumes at your free time. During your commute, during your lunch break, at home when you should be with your family and friends. So how much patience do you have for resumes? Not a lot. Now here's the problem too. You're looking at these resumes, and when you look at a resume, it's often very difficult to tell if this person is actually applying for the job you are screening for. Some people send their resumes everywhere and figure that if somebody responds to them, they'll learn more about the job. So you're a manager and you're looking at a resume, you have a stack of resumes. You know a lot of those resumes are for people who don't want the job, can't do the job, whatever. Yet in there's a resume that's a very special person, and yet you have 150 resumes. So how long are you going to spend on a resume that is unclear to you? Not long. You're going to give it 6 seconds, and you're going to bail immediately in that 6 seconds if you don't get some answers to your questions. First answer question you have is, do they want this job? The second question is this a credible candidate? Because if it's not a credible candidate, you don't want to spend the time on this paper. You're not looking for unique people. You're looking for a person who can help you reduce your burden. So the next thing you want to know is, do they have that key skill that you need? Say it's a web developer that you're looking for, and you use a specific language that not all web developers use. You use a specific framework for web design that not all web developers know or use. You're looking for somebody who has that. So all of this blather that you're reading in this resume may be immaterial if they don't have that. And you're still a little bit frustrated because you're not seeing this. The next thing is, so they have experience, they have skills. The question is, where have they used these skills? Because it's not enough for you to have somebody who happens to have studied a skill. You want to know that they've actually applied it successfully someplace else, because you can't afford to hire somebody, have they come in and prove then that they can't do the job. You want them to have already proved that they can do the job, because you don't have time to lead this person by the hand. So understanding this, and the other thing that you're going to have, you need to understand about your audience is that when you're busy, when you have these questions, a resume that doesn't give you answers quickly is very frustrating. And even though the resume might be the ideal candidate, if it's wandering around and telling you things you don't need to hear and not answering these critical questions, you're going to give it that 6 seconds, and if you're not finding those answers, you're going to throw it away. So a lot of resumes have lots and lots of words without enough actual meaning. And one of the things I'm going to teach you is to, and understanding this about your audience, that they have little patience for empty words. You're going to use always one word whenever one will work, never 2 or 3. Never a phrase when one will work. So, because you're going to cut to the chase for these people. You're going to make it simple. And so the questions that your audience has is, does this person want this job, the next question they have that is most important is, are they a credible candidate? Because these two questions indicate whether they should continue reading this resume. The next thing is, do you have that key skill? And after the key skill is, where have you used that skill? So from this, we're going to learn what headings we should put on our resume. In a future, the next lecture or down the road, the next lecture we're going to look at is actually the structure of our resume, what headings we need to put in there. And after that, we'll talk a little bit about how do we express what we need to express. I want you to understand that although experience is important, every one of us has experience. Every one of you has experience. And even if you have none of the essential experience, you should be working on your resume so that you see the gaps and you can start to fill those in. I'll have advice on how to do that. Say you're a freshman in high school. How much experience could you possibly have? But you have plenty. There are things you have done for others that you haven't even thought of. I'll help you bring those out. You're a professional who's taught in high school, but you want a different field. You want to go to a different direction, and you don't have actually experience, but you have some education in that. I'm going to show you how to take the experience that you do have and relate that to what you don't have.